city service for Gateway City Church. My name is Brandon. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Ha! I wouldn't intro the service like that. Sunday's the best day. Time to celebrate. Woo! That's right, welcome to our kids service. We are really glad that you're joining us this morning for our last lesson of our peace series. It's been a lot of fun. We've learned tons about how we can be peacemakers, and we have one more Bible story that we're gonna check out and learn from today. We're jumping into a Bible story from the Old Testament, which is the first chunk of the Bible, and we're looking at another story from David's life. Now, this time we're going to look at how Abigail jumped into a situation that wasn't going to be good and was able to create a peaceful situation. Before we check out that lesson, let's go over our memory verse for one last time for this month. So let us do all we can to live in peace, and let us work hard to build up one another. Romans 14:19.
The Bible, it's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story. Inspired by the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 25.
God had promised David would be king, but for now, King Saul ruled Israel. David lived his life on the run, followed by a group of misfits who had become friends and servants. One day, they arrived in the desert of Paran, near the land of a wealthy man named Nabal, who owned 3,000 sheep.
We'll set up camp here, man.
At first, Nabal's servants didn't know what to think.
Too many strangers around these parts. We've had food and sheep go missing.
But David's men were honorable. They didn't try to steal from the shepherds. In fact, David protected Nabal's shepherds from any harm.
Stay as long as you like, my friend.
About time for sheep shearing, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Nabal will hold a grand feast when it's all over. Your men have helped us, so they should share in the celebration.
David called for 10 of his men and gave them a message to send to Nabal.
On it.
David's messengers hurried up the mountain to Nabal's estate and were brought to stand before him.
Well, what do you want?
Nabal sneered down at the men while he continued to chew on a fine leg of mutton.
David says, may you live long, may things go well with you.
Continue.
He says, I hear that you are clipping the wool off your sheep. When your shepherds were with us, we treated them well and protected them. Now please be kind to my men. Please give us any food you can find for us.
Nabal leapt from his seat and hurled the mutton bone across the room.
Who is this David? Probably a runaway servant. Why should I give bread and meat to a nobody? And his men who come from who knows where?
David's men returned to camp and delivered the news.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Oh, yes, he did.
Men, put on your swords. We'll make Nabal wish he hadn't.
At no time at all, David and 400 of his men were marching up the mountain to confront Nabal. It seemed there was no stopping a battle. But Nabal's wife, Abigail, was far wiser than her husband. A servant told her what he had done.
David sent messengers asking for food, but Nabal shouted and was rude to them.
Go on.
The whole time we were near them, David's men were good to us. They were like a wall, keeping us safe. You've got to do something now, or terrible trouble will come.
There's no time to waste.
Abigail quickly directed her servants to gather supplies and put them on donkeys.
200 loaves of bread.
Check.
5 sheep.
Check.
1 bushel of cooked grain.
Check.
100 cakes of raisins and 200 cakes of figs.
Check. And check.
Well, you go on ahead. I'll follow.
The donkeys, loaded with good food, started down the mountain. Abigail got on her donkey and followed. From the valley, David and his men were approaching.
Everything we've done has been worthless. I watched over this fellow's property, but he's paid me back evil for good. We'll wipe him out.
As David's anger grew, though, he spotted something along the path. A pack of donkeys.
What's this?
It looks like they're carrying something. Food for a feast, I'd say.
Behind the pack of donkeys, Abigail prepared for what lay ahead.
I must stop this.
The moment Abigail saw David, she slid off her donkey and fell face down on the ground before his feet.
Please, let me speak. Let me take the blame for Nabal's actions.
Abigail raised her eyes just enough to notice David's surprised face. He nodded.
Don't pay attention to Nabal. He's always doing foolish things. I'm sorry I didn't get to see your messengers, but I've brought a gift for you. Right now, the Lord has kept you from killing Nabal and his men. Let the Lord deal with your enemies.
Abigail rose to her feet. David and his men listened, surprised by the strength of her message.
You fight the Lord's battles, so he will give your family line a kingdom that will last. He'll make you ruler of Israel. And when he does, you won't have a heavy load on your mind about killing people with no reason. The Lord will give you success. When that happens, please remember me.
Abigail took a deep breath and waited. David smiled.
Give praise to the Lord. He sent you to find me. May he bless you for this. You have kept me from using my own hands to get even.
David's men unloaded the food that Abigail had brought.
Go home in peace. I'll do what you have asked.
Abigail made her way back up the hillside to her home. She had chosen to humble herself and do the hard yet creative work of making peace. In the end, Nabal paid the high price for his foolish anger, but God blessed Abigail.
Well, I hope that you took something away from that story and that you learned something, you learned a little bit more about peace. Abigail saw a situation happening that was gonna be bad, that there was a war, something was about to break out, and she had to be creative. She heard the story and she then had to think about, what can I do? How can I get a solution or make an answer to this problem? We can be like Abigail and we can be peacemakers in our lives. When we see something happening wherever we are, we can ask God for help and he can help us come up with an idea to be creative and find an answer to the problem. That way, things will work out better and we can avoid a really difficult situation. Now, maybe some people are having a tough time. Maybe they're arguing or they're just not getting along. Great solution, well, maybe a great solution. Find a twist popper, you know? Be like, guys, we can get along here and just boom. Who wouldn't be happy after you have a twist popper go off? Like, that's the most exciting thing ever. There are a lot of ways that we can be peacemakers. We can bring God's joy, we can bring humor to a situation, we can ask God for wisdom, and he will give us some ideas in order to help the people. Maybe it's in our own life with someone else, but either way, we can be peacemakers and we can help be the solution. We can help figure out the answers with God. I hope that you have an awesome week. We look forward to seeing you, hopefully really soon. Take care, have a good one. We'll talk to you next time. See ya, bye! Woo! Oh man, I'm gonna be cleaning this up forever. Oh well, bye!